This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the bottom feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'll be joined by the founder of the Low-Chlo system, and this is a new sanitizer system that's on the market. You can learn more at Lo-Chlo.com. That's LOW-CHLO.com. And we're going to unpack the Low-Chlo system for you here today. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy coaching program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. So I'm joined today by Todd Garino. He's the founder of the Low-Chlo Sanitizer System. How you doing today, Todd?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So the first question, I guess, is what is the Low-Chlo for the listeners?
So the Low-Chlo is a pool sanitizing system. It's a mineral-based sanitizer. So there are other mineral-based sanitizers that have come up over the years. Ours is a little different. We'll explain that, as we go through this podcast. And just so your listeners know, this is not new technology. This technology has been around for many years, whether it be in residential or municipal drinking water application. The original inventor of this pool sanitizer started in 1992, and he was a pool builder up in Arkansas, and he put about 400 or 500 of these units out on all the pools he built the last 30 years. So it's not like we're bringing something new to market, but we are actually finally bringing it to market.
Okay. And then where did this whole idea or the system, where did it come from?
So it came from the original inventor. Like I said, he was a fiberglass pool builder. And in the mid-90s, he was struggling with two issues on his pools. One was his colors were fading, and the other was he was having a lot of cobalt explosions in his fiberglass shell. And he was searching for a solution to get as much chlorine out of his pool body as possible. A good friend of his was in the water treatment business over in Oklahoma. And he saw what he was doing on the municipal side of water treatment and thought maybe this would work in the pools. So in the early 90s, he started beta testing it himself. And then about 1995, he was able to get his own patent for pool sanitation.
Okay. So it's not a new product. It's a product that you've taken over.
Correct. Yes. So we found this product in 2018 when the original inventor was kind of starting to look to retire and trying to actually bring this product to market, something that he could leave to his family. And he got in touch with a company here in Tampa Bay area in Florida, and they did actually install about 30 of his units back there pre-COVID 2018. And one of his units was installed in my neighborhood, and the homeowner called me over to help out with a pool issue, and that's how we found it.
Well, with every pool product out there, there's of course a problem that is posed out there in the pool industry. And so what problem does this product solve?
I think that question is kind of twofold. So one problem that we were looking to solve was, as we were discussing pre-taping, the way salt cells just really don't last like they used to. I had 800 weekly maintenance accounts and another 2,000 retail store customers at my pool store. And when salt systems lasted, 6, 8, 10 years, everybody was happy and it was great. When they started lasting 2, 3, 4 years, there was a lot of frustration from the homeowners, and we really decided to try to find an alternative solution that we could bring and offer them that might be something that lasts longer and maybe something that be a little less expensive. And the other thing that we were really trying to solve is to try to get some of these corrosive chemicals out of the swimming pool body itself. Nobody likes to swim in chlorine, myself included, and we were really trying to look for a way to lower the amount of chlorine in the pool, but still keep it sanitized properly.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but the Lo-Chlo actually will allow you to use about 1 part per million or less free chlorine in the pool. Is that correct?
Yeah, we try to really keep it, at one part per million. Reason we do that is that's actually the lowest level for a commercial pool here in the state of Florida. So we try to mimic that. But the sweet spot is at zero point 0.5 to 1.5 part per million. And of course we do have other homeowners that like it a little higher just for their own peace of mind, and that's fine too. We have some that actually still keep their salt cell running because they want to get to that 3 to 5 part per million. And that's certainly acceptable. It kind of defeats the purpose a little bit of what our system does, and it's a little redundant. But at the end of the day, the homeowner has to be confident in what they're swimming in.
So who would be the ideal person for this system? I know that a lot of pool pros are listening and homeowners as well. Who is this system actually designed for?
This system is actually designed for any residential pool. It can be retrofit into any existing system, and then it can obviously also be put into a new pool build. Very easy to install. The reason we say any pool out there that's residential is we're not NSF yet for commercial pools. That's still pending. But in terms of any residential pool, any customer, homeowner that wants to swim in healthier water, that wants easier maintenance, this system's for them. And then, of course, on the flip side, with the maintenance guys and your pool pros, if they want to make their routes more profitable and save money on their consumables, their salt expenses, their shock expenses, this system's really a home run for the maintenance companies because they're going to save quite a good amount of money on their weekly consumable costs.
Yeah, let's address the two problems one more time here. One of them is, of course, the salt systems, which is the alternative that people turn to when they don't want to just use trichlor tablets and go to a straight chlorine pool. The systems are a lot more expensive. And like you mentioned, and I've noticed this too, the salt cells don't last nearly as long as they're supposed to last. So that's one issue that this addresses. The other one is the pool pro and the homeowner always has this idea that more is better. So we have the chlorine level at 5 parts per million, 10 parts per million. So I think those are two things that this product really addresses, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And a lot of people, especially homeowners, may not realize, but salt system, the cell itself is rated on hours. And if they ever read their owner's manual, it'll tell you how many thousand hours the cell should be good for. Now, you and I both know it normally never even makes those total numbers. But the other change in the industry is now it's federal that everyone has to have a variable speed pump. And when you're running variable speed pumps, you have to run them a lot longer because they move the water much slower and it takes longer to turn over the pool. So that's eating into these salt cell hours, and the homeowners really don't even know that's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and then the high chlorine, there's a lot of wasted product in that case too.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're pumping chlorine. And like you said, most pools that the homeowner wants to be at a 3 to 5. Next thing you know, they're at a 10 plus, and they don't even know.
Mhm. So how does this actually work to sanitize the water at such a low chlorine level?
So we're not using the chlorine as the actual sanitizer. So our system is a proprietary blend of known algicides and algistatin metals. And we have a patented vortex plate in the bottom of our tank. And so what happens is the water slowly swirls through this blend of powdered metals. And when these metals bang into each other inside the tank, it creates an electrolytic effect. And that's very important because that's why we don't need electricity also for our system. So as the water flows through these minerals, ions and electrons are released and attack the other molecules that are in the water coming through. And there's cellular destruction which happens inside the tank. And then what we do use the trichlor tablet for is as an oxidizer. So what happens is our tank kills all the bacteria, And then as that bacteria slowly makes its way back through the skimmer, through the pump, we set the chlorinator between the pump and filter to oxidize pre-filter. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking all that dead bacteria and filtering out.
Mhm. That makes sense. And so basically, the water clarity at 1 part per million is maintained because of the minerals in the tank.
Correct. Yep. So the minerals are doing the heavy lifting. The trichlor tablet is doing basically kind of like behind the scenes. It's kind of how we look at it. And keep in mind, we are introducing, the trichlor tablets and some chlorine. Obviously, we want to keep that 1 part per million, but we're also dechlorinating. So with our bypass manual, manifold, the way it's set up is half the water with the chlorine is still going back to the pool. The other half of the water is being bypassed through our tank. That water is also being dechlorinated as it goes through the tank.
That's interesting. So let's just compare some costs here. So the unit itself and the yearly costs of a salt system or just regular chlorine, if you're going to use that as your sanitizer, how does that fit in with the Lo-Chlo? How does the cost factor for the homeowner?
So that is a real good benefit. So typically, on a 10 to 15,000 gallon pool, you're averaging 12 to 18 bags of salt per year. At whatever they cost now, $10, $12 a bag. So you're talking, $300, $400 worth of salt. That completely is eliminated. We are now introducing a trichlor tablet, 1 to 2 a week, depending on the size of the pool. And then for somebody who's a traditional chlorine pool, now we're taking away the weekly shocking. So with a traditional chlorine pool, at least 6 to 8 months out of the year, that pool has to be shocked every week. And that will be eliminated down to somewhere between 3 and 5 times a season.
And I know the pool pros don't like this, but when you add a new product, you have to maintain that product. And, here's another product we have to maintain at a homeowner's property. And, we have to do this and that, like, especially with the salt systems. There's a lot of maintenance involved, more maintenance involved than people think. So, what kind of maintenance is involved in the Lo-Chlo? And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description.
So our system is very low maintenance, especially compared to a salt system. And years ago, we used to get away with just cleaning a salt cell once a year. But now that they're so much smaller and there's this new added issue in the industry called calcium phosphates, and we think that's derived from the variable speed pumps moving the water through the cell slower. It allows the calcium more time to build up on the plates inside. So we were seeing that we were going to have to clean the cells, sometimes monthly, but normally at least every 2 to 3 months. Our system itself, we have a bypass on our tank, and what all you do is move these two ports. You just exchange them, so you put the water through the tank backwards, and that can be done in an environment where we live in Florida just once a year after pollen season. Reason we do that is whatever pollen did get through your filter could come in here and clog in our baffles. So that's why we recommend doing it after pollen season. If you're in a harder water environment, some places out west, California, Texas, the desert areas that have much harder water, high calcium levels, then we would recommend doing it at least quarterly. But it's a 3 to 5 minute exercise. No, and there's no electricity to deal with. All you do is turn off the pump, move two unions back and forth a few times, and you're done.
And then you would just turn the pump on and run it backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you run it backwards, and then you run it forwards, and then you run it backwards, and then you run it forwards. Very similar to backwashing a DE or a sand filter.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we can touch on the actual product warranty since we're talking about the maintenance aspect of it. What's the warranty on the product?
So the warranty is 10-year limited warranty, and basically that covers any defects in the actual tank or the components itself, and then the media inside the tank. Now, of course, there are caveats to that warranty. if the water balance is not maintained properly for a long amount of time, if there's very high pH, if there's very high cyanuric acid, or on the flip side, if there's very low pH, those three parameters alone could damage the media inside. That would not be a covered warranty issue, but obviously if the pool parameters are kept in check, this media is rated to last 8 to 12 years. That's why we're confident to give 10-year warranty.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Since this is not really a new product, since you actually took over the patent and you relaunched it and you're putting it out there on the market, what kind of feedback do you get from people that have this unit? I know you have some beta testing that you've been doing before you even launched this for like the last 5 years. You wouldn't come out with this unless you really tested it thoroughly and invest all your money into this product. So what kind of feedback, what are you hearing for the people that have this system already in their pools?
It's the most common line we get all the time is, why doesn't everybody have this? And that's why we're here. That's why we're asking you to put this out to the masses to help us bring this product to the world. Everybody that we've installed this on is so happy. We have 5-star ratings, Trustpilot ratings on our website. We have video testimonials. We even went to Arkansas to get people that have had this system 10 plus years that gave us testimonials that love this product. And that's the feedback. The other thing that's just very interesting, here in Florida, there's a major franchise retail store called Pinch a Penny.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to get this system and become one of their approved vendors. And the way that we introduced chlorine before the filter and before the heater was a major concern for them. So they agreed to do a non-biased third-party beta test for us. And what they found was exactly what we told them, and where our system does dechlorinate. So you're only sending that 1 part per million, back to the pool or through a heater. But that beta test has helped us a lot in this launch to market, because that's not something that I did personally, like the beta test that we show on our website. This was an independent test done by a professional company with that, people take a lot of stock in here in Florida.
And you did mention the trichlor feeder before the heater. That's something a little unusual. Usually that's the last component that's put in there. And what's the reason for having that in that location?
So it's put there for one reason, and that's to oxidize pre-filter. So we want to take that dead bacteria and get it filtered out. If we don't oxidize properly, then the pool water would eventually turn cloudy, because all that suspended dead bacteria would be floating in the pool. So we oxidize pre-filter, and then the water goes through our tank and gets dechlorinated, before entering the heater. And it's funny, it's always a major concern. People say don't put tablets in the skimmer. I agree. That's why we include a chlorinator with our system. But if you think about it, any traditional chlorine pool that gets shocked once a week, they're raising that level 10 plus, 15 plus parts per million. All that water's still going through the heater.
Mm-hmm.
Someone with a salt system, their salt system, they don't even know it. It's pumping out, a pound plus of chlorine a day. All that chlorine's still going through their heater. So it kind of is interesting that it's such a major concern. Now, I understand with a chlorinator, you want to have a check valve so that high gas doesn't go backwards into a heater overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly understandable, and backwards through your pump seals if you're putting things in skimmers. That I get, but in terms of actually the water itself, I never really could comprehend that. And luckily, our beta tests have proven that our system dechlorinates enough to not send any high parts per million through a heater.
That's interesting too. So why haven't these systems been widely adopted? I mean, there's other low chlorine alternatives, and why do you think that maybe the industry is opposed to products that use less chemicals?
Well, I think there's one reason is people, and I've been in the industry for 20 years, and I was skeptical when I saw this product. So I can speak from that side of it. Is one thing you really worry about is safety, and you're telling me, okay, you're going to go put less chlorine into a pool where a bunch of kids are swimming in it. Well, that sometimes raises a red flag, and it did for me. And that's why we did 8 years of beta testing to make sure that it would work properly with those lower chlorine levels. And And most people don't realize the pool industry is very different than any industry I've ever come across. And I've been in a few in my professional career. But the pool industry is very slow to adapt any type of new technology. It's kind of like a good old boys club. I mean, it took 20 years for them to adopt salt systems. It just takes time and it takes proof. And really, with our system, for me, even specifically, the proof was in the pudding. I watched it work. I understood how it worked, and it turned me into a believer. And that's what really pushed me to want to go out and pursue obtaining the patent from the original inventor.
And I think the fact that pool pros, we always think more chlorine means safer water, but with the minerals inside the tank of the Lo-Chlo, you really don't have to. You have to kind of change your thinking, right? You have to look at it differently.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you think about it, more chlorine is not better. In commercial pool in Florida, if that chlorine's over 9 parts per million, they close the pool. There's a reason they do that. It's not safe. So the normal pool professional out there that thinks that is really thinking wrong. More chlorine is not always better. It can be harmful. It's a corrosive chemical.
This goes back to the people that purchase salt systems because a lot of people buy them because they want to move away from quote unquote chlorine in their pool. And
Yeah.
and I think the manufacturers marketed this to the point where it's become like an urban legend that a salt pool is not a chlorine pool. And I still get this all the time. Like, I have a salt pool, so I don't need to add chlorine anymore. But in reality, it's like a little chlorine factory. And so your primary market are the actual homeowners that want a system that actually you can run the pool with low chlorine, not like a salt system which advertises that, but they're actually just a chlorine factory.
Correct. Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times at my retail store counter I had, would tell customers, go home and turn down your chlorine output. And they would look at me and say, well, I don't have chlorine. I have a salt pool. And it's just 1 + 1 didn't equal 2. And again, it is excellent marketing by the salt system manufacturers, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is a thing. And most homeowners really, they don't understand that they do have their own little chlorine factory in their backyard. I like the way you put that. I'm going to use that.
It's your main audience for this are the homeowners that do want low chlorine in their pool, which is myself included. My son, he doesn't really like swimming in the pool because he's like, there's too much chlorine in there. I have a salt system that actually gonna sunset and use the Lo-Chlo. I have this installed on my pool now as well. And I think for those homeowners that truly want a pool with a low chlorine level, this is the product for them.
Yeah, and I would say to those homeowners that, like yourself, you have an operating salt system. Now, for peace of mind, and we've had a number of customers call us with this concern, they want to get to 3 parts per million. Now, they don't want to be at 5, 8, or 10. So we basically tell them conservatively, if you want and your system still works, keep your salt system in line and keep it at 5 or 10% output. And that'll get you that 2.5 to 3 part per million for the peace of mind of customers that really are still a little bit nervous of our technology.
Mm-hmm. But in your beta testing for 8 years, most of the consumers run it at a low chlorine level.
Yeah, all our beta tests do not have any other supplemental chlorine except our system and the trichlor tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if
And for
someone's
your, I was
Go
just going
ahead.
to also add, for your pool pros out there, or even your homeowners, if you went to our website, you can see the 3 original beta tests that we did. And we also logged all the chemical consumption for those pools there's one for 5 years and 2 for over 3 years. And you'll see there's a huge amount of savings in chlorine.
Mm-hmm.
And these were all 3 were traditional chlorine pools to begin with that were converted.
Yeah, we'll throw the website out there. So it's LOW-CHLO.com. That's LOW-CHLO.com.
Correct.
And that's where they can go to get information. And you mentioned earlier before we started about dealers. Let's say there's a pool pro out there that, especially here in California, a lot of high-end customers want very low chlorine in their pool, and they want to start selling these to their customers. How does a pool pro become a dealer?
Again, right on our website, we have a dealer portal, and We don't charge dealers to sign up. It's all free. They just go on there. They give us a little information, their name, company name, website, phone number, etc. We don't require them to buy any units up front, especially now we're just launching to the industry. So we're trying to get as many dealers as we can. We're trying to get our brand out there. And that's the main reason that we're also targeting consumers right now. Because what we're finding is consumers that see our ads on Instagram or Facebook or wherever they're seeing our ads are then calling their pool pro and asking questions. And that's triggering the pool pro then to call us with the same questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's helping us build out our dealer network. Eventually, what we want to do is create such a strong dealer network that we can just sell to dealers and let them take over the direct to consumer sales.
Mm-hmm. Smart. And I had a video I sent you of the install at my house by my buddy Vic, and it's basically like just installing a bypass. You cut the plumbing and you put the
Correct.
connectors in. So of course I'll be making a
I lost you
video.
there on your.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's basically it's a three-way diverter valve and a T. So just like if they were doing a bypass for a heater, it's
Mhm.
the same exact bypass. If anybody is comfortable installing a salt system, just think about you're just installing the cell portion, but not the power center portion.
Mm. Yeah, pretty good way to describe it. And like I
Mhm.
said, the install was very easy. When Vic was here looking at the instructions, I have it in the video where he's like he kind of did a pre-dry fitting kind of thing. He's like
Mhm.
holding it up and he's like, this is nothing, compared to like the installs he normally does. There was one that I was working on him with where another tight equipment pad where the actual pipes were coming right over the pump itself. Like you couldn't get the pump lid off on this install. I don't know who put this pool in. And he's trying to get the pump out and in, and it was like a 2 hour install for something that should have taken 10 minutes. But this here is something that takes about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we tell an experienced pool pro under an hour, a DIYer plan on 2 hours.
Yeah.
But with the DIYers, we actually send the full bypass manifold
Hmm.
parts and the chlorinator
Okay.
in like a complete done for you package.
Yeah.
So all they would really need is to run to Home Depot and get some PVC elbows, couplers, and some pipe,
Hmm.
some glue. But for the dealers, we actually, we're not here to try to sell them parts that they could buy cheaper at their own supply house in terms of three-way valves and T's
Hmm.
and chlorinators and things. So we just ship them a dealer-based unit, which was everything to run our tank minus the PVC type stuff.
Hmm. And like I said, the install is really, really simple. It's when I put the next video up, I'll have that install in the video so people can see it. But as far as that goes, compared to a salt system, I think it's a very basic install.
Yeah, and we're actually doing the same. We're currently building out a YouTube page with a bunch of like frequently asked question type video answers. So we're in the process of doing it right now. I've been taping videos all week, but all the questions that we've been getting from homeowners and dealers alike, we're trying to put into 1 minute to 2 minute type responses,
Hmm.
but real easy on video so they can just grab it on their phone while they're at the pad, and it's not something that they have to really research.
Yeah. So, from everything that I've seen and actually have the one installed in my pool, I would say this is a product that has legs and it's going to go pretty far in the industry. So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing with the listeners, your product and the thought behind it and all the other aspects of it, which make it a great alternative to salt systems and just a straight chlorine pool.
Yeah, I agreed, and that's what drove this, you know, for the past 8 years. There's a lot of sweat equity involved with this product, a lot of beta testing, and we're very confident how we have it dialed in right now, and we're just happy to be able to partner with people like yourself who have a voice and can help us get our brand out there and just increase the brand awareness. And we hope that the phone keeps ringing and we can help homeowners to swim healthier. Again, that's our main goal is to get as much corrosive chlorine out of the swimming pool body as possible while still maintaining a safe environment.
Yeah, and I think I like the fact that you're a pool pro yourself, and that always seems to make the products very successful on the market. You're not someone outside the industry coming in here trying to push this in here. You're actually someone who deals with customers, deals with the problems we deal with out there, and you have a viable solution for the pool pro.
Yeah, it's been, I love the pool business. I was fortunate enough to build a really great business, and that 2 years ago was bought out by private equity, which is, the common thing going around
Mhm.
all these service industries across the country. But again, I feel blessed and honored to be able to bring this product now and stay in the industry. I love talking shop to people like you and all the dealers that call. It gets my blood just really pumping.
Mm.
It's exciting. The pool industry is, it helped me put two kids through college. I mean, it's just a great business. Built a nice home. It's one of the best things I ever did in my life.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. It's one of the best industries out there. And, we're thankful for people like you that create products for the industry after being in the industry, and it just keeps it kind of circling around and gets to the next level where you have this product out there that's available for the pool pros now that didn't exist basically. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, and again, we appreciate you, helping us push it out to the masses.
Yeah, well, thanks, Todd.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. And then anybody has any questions, comments, they can visit that website and hit us up if they want to become a dealer. Just give us a little info, and it triggers an automated email back with more information, instructional videos, etc.
Thank you. And if you're interested in other podcasts, you can go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, where I have over 1,900 podcasts for you to listen to and download. Just click on the podcast icon in the banner. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.